More memories of my childhood. Ooh, aren't you excited? We were lucky enough to go to California a lot when I was growing up because my grandmother lived out there and other relatives at the time. All who are dead now except for one. And we would drive out there from Denver, Colorado to good old Southern California, home of Disneyland, Hollywood, and all that jazz, man. I remember going through the desert and I don't know if it's still there. I haven't been there that way in a long time in a car. The border between Arizona and California. There was a stop so they could check and see if you were bringing any fruits or vegetables in. I wonder if they still do that, because they had the fly, the Mediterranean fruit fly that was infecting fruits and vegetables back in the 70s and 80s, I guess. We often went to Disneyland. I've been watching a lot of videos about the old Disneyland of my youth and before. There's so much that's gone. I have not been out there in many years, more than 10. And so it's quite a while ago that I've seen any of that stuff. Knott's Berry Farm and the now defunct Movie Land Wax Museum in Buena Park, right down the street from Knott's Berry Farm. What a shame, but at least somebody has captured videos of a lot of this stuff. A lot of the home movies are up on YouTube. It's wonderful, fabulous. We never took home movies. All we had is slides and maybe a few 35mm prints, but generally my dad was all into slides. Let's have a slide show. Let's look at the screen in the dark. This is our trip to Los Angeles, California, 1977. We went to the beach, and I got my feet full of oil on the beach from dirty ocean when the sand was full of crap, and it washed up on the beach, and I went in there on the beach barefoot, and I ran into an oil slick that was underneath the sand and ruined my shoes. I remember that. How nasty that water was, and it probably still is. My friend Sean, who I don't see anymore, grew up out there, and he said the only people who get in the water are dumbasses, and most of them are surfers. Dude, yeah. But yeah, it's a lot of fond memories about those long car rides out there. My dad was the only one who drove, so it was a long ride, usually 2 or 3 day ride out there and back. And it was always hot when we went, except the one time we did go for Christmas, so it was not hot out there along the desert in the Arizona/Nevada desert. So maybe it was the border between Nevada and California. I forget. Probably was. Anyway, many fond memories of all those days. I remember the one trip in particular, Love Will Keep Us Together, was the big hit on the radio. You can only get certain radio stations out in the desert, and they kept playing Love Will Keep Us Together over and over and over. That had to have been 74, 75. We went out there a hell of a lot, and we stopped going, by the late 70s. We just couldn't do it anymore, I guess. They weren't up to it. We hardly ever flew anywhere. I mean, I didn't fly anywhere until I was 18 years old, I don't think. I took my first plane flight. My family was big into driving. Let's save that money. We can't afford to have the whole family. You're seeing Universal Studios and all that back in the day, back in the 70s. Things have changed so much. Everything's a theme park out there. Way more than it was back in those days. Universal was just a studio tour. There were not all this other stuff out there. Disneyland, I'm sure, has completely changed since I was out there long time ago. Probably more like 20 years ago since I've been there. Or not, maybe not that long. 90, I don't remember when I was out there. Anyway, never mind. As I kind of blather on here, I just had fond memories. I was looking at all this stuff. To relive the childhood all over again. But at least we have our family photos and all that. And a lot of my friends do have home movies to look back upon. So seeing your home movies on YouTube kind of helps me remember some of the old days. Those were the days.